Hello and welcome back to the third episode of the One United podcast. I'm James. I'm joined by Henry. Henry, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
Yeah, good. So we'll get straight into it.
Let's do
Obviously,
it.
coming off the back of a good quarter-final FA Cup win. What's your reaction to the game?
I don't think there's much of a positive reaction from many United fans after what we kind of saw. It was a bit drab and a bit. I don't know. The starting lineup was understandable, but 8 changes. I don't know what you think. I thought it was a bit too much. It kind of makes the team a little bit disjointed, and it didn't seem to work for me. Lingard looks like he's gone already. The same could be said for, Mata. You can tell he's a squad player because he's not obviously 100%. And some of the Romero again he's not performing at the highest level because obviously he knows he's going to be a sub keeper regardless of what happens. So yeah, underwhelming, really underwhelming.
Yeah, I think Solskjaer's hand was a bit forced with obviously how congested the fixtures are now. So I think the changes are necessary, but yeah, I don't think you could have expected much more from the original team he put out. It was never going to dominate the game like we wanted them to, were they?
No, it was never gonna enforce like a kind of style on the game. It was never going to be all out attack or anything. You could just tell by the way that the players were. Fernandez, when he's got kind of 4 or 5 players around him that he's not used to playing with, it tells. There's a lack of cohesion with the team. So yeah, I thought it was a bit of a concern and something that we can't afford to do throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think it's become clear that Fernandez obviously shines in a team of good players around him. He can only do as much as everyone else. He can play the balls and he can create things, but if there's no one there to actually finish him, I think it's understandable. I think it's understandable why one of his worst games.
Yeah, I think it's understandable, but also you've got to look at the management a little bit. And I know it's one game, and I know I might completely be overreacting here, but it didn't look right the way that they were playing. The first 25 minutes were good; they were okay, knocking the ball around, keeping possession, but you can't allow the bottom side in the Premier League. Although credit to Norwich, they came out and they gave the game to us, and they pushed us back a little bit. And you've got players like Cantwell and Buendia, who started to kind of impose themselves on the game a little bit. And then but they are bottom of the league for a reason. That's because they're not a fantastic side. So even with you're not your second string per se, but with your kind of weakened squad, you'd expect to beat them comfortably.
Yeah. I think the thing I'm disappointed about is the midfield. I think I expected a lot from McTominay and Fred. It was a chance for them to show why they should be in the team with Pogba and Fernandes, but I don't think they really ever got hold of the game. I think the game changed completely when Matic and Pogba came on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it still didn't change the fact that they were going to have 11 men behind the ball, regardless of what kind of team we were playing. That was always going to happen. I mean, they're a bit more open towards the end of the game. But McTominay, I've had my reservations about him before. He's not a fantastic player. I don't think I can't see the technical quality there.
Yeah,
I can see the desire and kind of he is an athlete and he's a workhorse, but he is a workhorse. He's the guy that does some of the dirty work and stuff, but he's an athlete. He kind of he's just there to he doesn't do a lot more than a few passes and run around. I don't see him kind of creating, or I don't see him always breaking up the play or anything. He's just not technically that good.
yeah.
Squad player, fine, but not a starter.
I think the thing with McTominay is he's okay at everything, but he's not amazing at anything.
Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect way to put it. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
I think if United were to stay as they were and just go for top four every year, I think he'd be an okay player to have. I think if you want to go for a title, and he's got to be pushed back to second choice.
I described him to my dad as one of those players in 20 years' time that I wouldn't say people will particularly remember.
Yeah.
But he'll feel it within himself. He'll be able to tell when he's later in life, he'll tell his grandkids and stuff that he played for United or whatever. He won't be remembered as a United legend because he's just not got the quality. But we would happily. I mean, other players would be different. You know, he'd happily stay on the bench. For it will be the rest of his career if he's at United that he'll stay on the bench. And you know, he could go to a mid-table club and be a starter. He'd be a starter at like Bournemouth or or West Ham or I don't know, Palace. He'd be a starter in all of those kind of sides.
Yeah, I think he's running the risk of going into sort of Tom Cleverley territory. There's a lot of excitement with him when he came through the academy, and then he sort of faded off. I feel like there's a danger that he could head down the similar path to him.
It just lacked the kind of extra bit of kind of finesse that you need to be a top player. I mean, Matic was criminally underrated at the start of the season, partly by me as well. But he gained a bit of kind of like he gained a bit of himself back when Pogba and when Fernandez came in, he kind of gained half a yard of pace. I don't know where that came from, and I mean, he seems to be back to his old self where he's so good at what he does, and he's so underrated with what he does, and rival fans think that, you know, Fabinho and I don't know, you know, you got Jorginho or whatever. At the time, they're thinking, "Oh God, these guys are so much better." I really don't think they are. I think Matic is so underrated.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the best in the world at what he does.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's not quick or full of flair, I think means he goes so under the radar. He doesn't make it into, you know, football compilations everywhere. But what he does do, he does very effectively, and he just keeps everything ticking.
It's the basics, and he does them incredibly well. If a player goes unnoticed and they're playing well, that means that you know they're playing incredibly well. He makes the team play well without everyone kind of noticing that. And then you know, you got Pogba for the pass for the goal. Fantastic pass. I mean, not many players can do that. I saw something earlier actually which was at the start of the season where a Liverpool fan and the United fan were trying to do a combined 11. And the Liverpool fan was saying that he thinks that Jordan Henderson's a better player. And I think that Paul Pogba has shown in the last 3 games that he has been a better player. If he was playing like that, you know, without all the injuries and stuff, if he was playing like that week in, week out, Henderson wouldn't even be compared anywhere near in the same bracket as Pogba. That's a completely unfair comparison.
Yeah,
I still don't see all the hype about Henderson either. I really don't.
I think
He's pass merchant.
the thing with Henderson is he's become such an incredible leader in that Liverpool team that sort of carried over in people's opinions of his ability. I think he's not the best player in the Premier League. I don't think he should. I don't think he should win Player of the Year, but I think he's been so important to Liverpool because of how good of a leader he is.
Yeah, no, I agree with the leadership side of things. He obviously kind of, you know, he drags the team through games and stuff with his leadership, but that doesn't come from footballing quality.
No.
He lacks in that so much, and this is where United have now finally got a midfield where everyone, you know, I said before the Spurs game, you don't know what Pogba and Fernandes is going to be like. We could massively overhype them, but from what we've seen of them, they've been pretty good. The Sheffield United game, they were good as well. They're just they can dominate a game, those 2 players, on their own.
Yeah.
And that's a rarity in consistently in the Premier League. That's a rarity for two midfielders to just completely control a game, and it goes at their pace. If they slow down, the game slows down. If they speed it up, the game speeds up. So, no, I think that side of things for United is looking pretty bright.
So I think the thing with actually no, I'll come back to it later on in the podcast because we're going to come back to it. But moving on then, one bright spark of the game was Odion Igalo. Would you say? Would you not say?
Yeah, he's I'm still not 100% sure of what to make of him. He's obviously 100% committed to Man United. We know that because he's desperate to stay. I think that I don't know whether we'll take the option to buy him. I think that might be a bit hasty. He's not a bad backup striker to have by any means, but he doesn't quite fit the style. And I think that kind of made the game a little bit more disjointed. Although he did score and he's a good poacher, he doesn't fit the style of the team. And
Yeah.
you can't keep chopping and changing styles to different games because that just makes the team kind of lose a bit of the fluidity and the quality. He's a big guy. I'll say that now. You can tell by the way that he's quite stocky and he likes to push people around. And it can be good to have that. But I think the best scenario for us, for United fans, is we see him do well in the United shirt. We get in a different striker, whether that's a younger one or a slightly more experienced older one. When the time comes, and he gets a massive bumper contract at Shanghai, which they've offered him a 400 grand a week deal, I think it is, and he gets that and gets a massive load of money for the rest of his career. So I think that's the best way I look at it. I don't know what your kind of take on it is.
Yeah, I don't think we should buy him, but I think he has something to offer in that if you put the ball in front of him, he will score. I think he differs from Rashford and Martial in that they've got the ability to create their own chances, whereas Igalo needs someone to create the chance for him. But if they do, it's a guaranteed goal. He will finish it. Whereas I think with Martial and Rashford, they've still got that lack of composure in that some chances that they should be scoring, like the one against Sheffield United where Rashford missed that open goal. I think if that was squared to Igalo, he scores it. It's just little things like that. But I think that's where they differ, and I think that's why they're so tactically different.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I think would be beneficial for United in the kind of forward-thinking department is if we got an experienced striker in, not one who's way past it or whatever. One who's like early 30s, has got bags of experience in the top leagues. Might not be in the prime of his game, but he can score goals. Like what we did with Zlatan, that was perfect because it teaches the younger players. He was teaching Martial and Rashford finishing. I'm certain of that. Obviously, you've got Solskjaer there to do that as well, but you want it from a player so they can learn by the training sessions that they're doing with the experienced ones. So I think that would benefit our team massively, and maybe even kind of improve different aspects of our game.
Yeah. Moving on then. Obviously into the next round, we've got Chelsea. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, I didn't get the draw we wanted to get. I think
everyone wanted Arsenal, didn't they?
Yeah, everyone wanted Arsenal. I mean, I know Arsenal beat Sheffield United, but that was one of the most unconvincing wins I've ever seen. And Sheffield United, this is a team that have come back and haven't won yet since the lockdown. So Arsenal just looked, I don't know, they looked like they were lacking in ideas at times in the game. You know, Pepe's starting to play a little bit better, but that defence, that's mediocre. It really is.
Yeah, I think United's goal is possibly the most Arsenal goal to concede you'll ever see.
Yeah, it's just a hell of a lot of errors in the defensive department. I mean, and surprise, there's a defence that's got David Luiz in, which is just, again, you think after the Man City game they'd learnt their lesson, wouldn't you? Don't play him there because he makes mistakes. He's great with his feet and he's great at knocking the ball out, and he'd be great in a defensive midfield role where if he makes a mistake, he's got someone behind him there to kind of mop up. But he's not a centre back. He makes too many errors, and if he starts against Man City in that semi-final, I mean, it's either going to be a really close game and Arsenal are going to put up a fight and just. They're playing against him against City. It's going to be a worry. I think it's going to be a real concern, and I don't hold high hopes for that Arsenal side at all.
No.
The attacking side of things, I mean, they've spent a lot of money and it's still not quite working. I mean, if you're having to play, Willock and Nketiah over Aubameyang and Lacazette, then you're looking at a side that's underperforming quite a lot. So, but that defence, oh God, I would have loved to play that team because although they can keep the ball, well at times, any sort of direct attacking movement. I mean, you saw City yesterday. Newcastle defended relatively well, I thought, in the first half, and you just see the way that they absolutely. I mean, I think the first 20 minutes they put together like 180 odd passes, and they're just going to absolutely murder them. So I would have liked Arsenal, but Chelsea beaten them 3 times this season already, and to be honest, there's another team where they've got better as the season gone on.
Yeah.
But I think again, I wouldn't have been annoyed with Chelsea or City or Arsenal. I can't really knock any of the teams because I think we have a chance against anyone.
Yeah.
With the kind of the squad that we've got, and provided they're back on fire performing, Rashford needs to kind of get back in the groove a little. Yeah. What do you think about Chelsea?
I think a lot of fans are very overly confident because we've already beaten 3 times. I think we saw against City, they're not the same team we played earlier in the year.
No.
I think on paper, I'd still back us to win, but I think it could be one of those games where if one team nicks a goal, that's it. Like in the FA Cup final a couple of years ago, Chelsea stole a goal and then that was it, just killed the game. That's
yeah. Again, our defence is good, but I mean, against Norwich, we looked pretty suspect, even though we had made changes. So I think Chelsea fans they won't be happy with the draw, but I think they'll take it.
Yeah, I think
the same for us.
Yeah, I think with any of the 3 teams left, I'd be confident against them quietly because we've obviously spoken about Chelsea and Arsenal. They've got their frailties, but then City, especially against Chelsea, looked woeful at the back. We've seen it when we've played them this season. The back line has been poor, so that gives me a bit of confidence as well.
If Arsenal beat City, then to be honest, I think the world's going to end because that surely, I mean, it could happen, but surely not with the way that Arsenal are playing at the moment. Surely not.
So then I suppose that begs the question: if it was between winning the FA Cup and the Europa League or just getting top 4, which one would you pick?
What do you mean? Would I pick either trophy or top 4?
I think if you had the chance to win both, because the Europa League's just going on in August, isn't it? That's just going to be a mini tournament.
Yeah.
That's winnable anyway. But I think if you wanted to, I don't think you could get top 4 and win the 2 competitions. I think the schedule's too tight, and I don't think we have the squad depth for it.
I think what Solskjaer will do, and this is where, although it's not a great situation to be in. It plays into our hands a little bit, where we've got the Premier League and the FA Cup first of all to focus on. So focus on those games in the Prem and the FA Cup, and try and win, as many as you can. But we go for the Europa League. We've got a good enough squad to win that. I mean, we're 5-0 up in the first leg of that game. I mean, the team that we're playing had a good kind of a really good record in the Europa League and in their league as well, and we absolutely ripped them apart. So, I mean, I'd back us in the Europa League. I really would. And at the end of the day, although top 4 is a necessity, which it really is, but if you win the Europa League, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Might as well just go and win the Europa League if you can. And that's what Mourinho did with us, and it worked a treat.
So then, I suppose that's all we can say on that. I think the next big bit of news from this week has come out today is obviously Angel Gomes could be leaving.
Big old Angel.
Yeah. What are your initial thoughts on that?
First thought actually was a lot of United fans have hyped him to be some sort of god, which I still, I'm yet to see. He could end up being an absolutely fantastic player and a world beater. We don't know that yet because we haven't seen him enough in the first team. A lot of talk has been that the management staff have offered it. They've seen him play and they think he's a good player, but they would have offered him more chances. They offered Teeth Chong more chances than they've offered Gomez.
Yeah.
And they would have offered him a bigger contract if he had been performing better. I'm sure of that. Because at the end of the day, if he's that good, you do anything to keep players like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I'm not disappointed. Because at the end of the day, if he wants out, which it sounds like he was asking for a lot of money. It sounds like he was asking for upwards of 25k a week.
Yeah.
That's what we offered him plus incentives. If he's asking for like 30, 40k a week at his age, without really playing in the first team, I had 8 appearances this year, most in the Europa League, and off the bench most as well. I don't think has he started? I don't know whether he has. I don't think so.
I'm not sure. He might have done in a couple of Europa League games, but
yeah. So not being harsh, but irrelevant games.
Yeah.
So he's evidently not quite there. And if he's asking for that much money and he thinks he's going to be bigger than the club, I don't know the whole story again, but this is from what I'm gathering. If he's asking for that much money and he thinks that that he's going to be a bigger asset to the club, and he thinks that he's this and that, good riddance.
Yeah.
You don't want to play with that attitude, because at the end of the day, he's going to be playing with youth players. They'll all be looking at him thinking, "What? If he's not as good as he thinks he is, then the other youth players will be thinking, well, we can just do the same then."
Yeah.
Neville Medjugorje, he's Pogba was the one that recommended him to join. He wanted him to join because he thinks he's got potential. He could turn around and do the same. I want 40 grand a week. But if you set a trend with one player, you set a trend for the rest.
Yeah.
So the trend is that you are not going to take this club for a ride. The rest of the players will hesitate and think twice about trying to ask for ridiculous contracts when they're too young.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I'm not as disappointed as I thought I would be, because you take into consideration what he's actually done on the performances he's had this season. He's not looked amazing. Not built for the Premier League. He's what, 5'4"?
Yeah, he's really small.
I can't see him succeeding in this league, and even if he does go on to have a successful career, I think for the general well-being of the club, I think it'll be the best thing to do is just let him go.
He's not going to start now. Let's be pretty clear about that. He is not going to start. He's not as good as Pogba. He's not as good as Fernandes. Andreas Pereira, I mean, anyone could be better than Andreas Pereira. I mean, you could get in a championship midfielder, and you'd probably be doing he'd probably be doing a better job than Pereira has. But again, you've got quite a few players in that position. You've got Mata who can play there as well, and Lingard obviously probably going, but he could play there as well. So you've got a lot of players that could be looking at that number 10 role. He's not going to be in the first team,
No.
whether he likes it or not, and he'll probably be loaned out next year. We're planning on loaning Chong out next year. If he was willing to accept a loan, I think we would have pushed a bit harder. And he might go to Dortmund, he might go to PSG, and he might have a fantastic career, or he might have a fantastic first 2 or 3 seasons, or he could just fall off the radar like a lot of players have. He could go to a club, and they think, again, he's a very short player, and it's difficult to deal with like adult kind of physicality in football if you're that short, because he'll just get bullied in the game. So I know you said the same. I didn't think I'd be disappointed, and I'm really not.
I think we're obviously hearing he's this amazing prospect, but I think if he was so good, he's 19 now.
Yeah,
he'd have shown something by now. I mean, yeah, it's all well and good playing well for the under-23s, but the under-23s and the leasing.com trophy are playing League Two teams, so that's playing that every week. It's all right being a good League Two player, but that's not going to get you anywhere in the Premier League, is it?
If there's a 19-year-old top class player, aka you look at, I think Sancho's 20 now, but you look at his kind of age, and you look at Jude Bellingham as well, and these players have broken into these first teams by the time they're about 19, 20. Rashford was the same. He broke into the first team when he was 18, and he's been a kind of almost a fixture ever since. So if he was that good, I really don't think that the United staff would have either said, yeah, you can let him go, or they wouldn't have left him on the bench. Simple as that. If he was that good, if he was a world beater, which some fans seem to think that he is. So I'm really not disappointed, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So on that note, we'll wrap up proceedings. I think another good chat. We look forward to next week. We've got Brighton tomorrow, I think.
Have indeed, yes.
Obviously, big game for you tonight as
well. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, again, I'm nervous, but hopefully Exeter can do the locals proud.
Yeah. So yeah, on that note, we'll leave it at that. Thank you again for watching.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
And we'll hopefully see you next week. We'll try and be more consistent than the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you later.